PTC Creo Parametric 3.0, Lesson 11, Part 1. In this lesson, we will detail the anchor part that we created in Lesson 5. So I like to put the part or the assembly in session when I do the detailing of anything. So I'm going to open up the part that we created, but I'm going to then close it. In fact, maybe I should open that up again, because one of the things I notice sometimes when I'm using existing parts that I did for the book, for instance, this one has a geometric tolerance on it. So I'm going to go and check my tree filters first of all for the session that I'm in. Apply, okay. And take a look at my annotations and all my features. So I'm going to be detailing this object. I never showed the annotations in the assembly, in the part mode here. So they're not being displayed right now. Click on the model. So I'm going to close this, and we are going to start a new drawing. I'll give it a unique name. Uncheck the default template. Click OK. Part, landscape. Use template. We will use the D size. Puts the views in there for us. Now, I think when we did this, we originally didn't want to show all the views. So at this point, you can go delete views, which views you don't want. If you uncheck the template, then it won't put the views in there. You have to put the views in one at a time. So basically, I'm going to start this again, and we'll look at it from a different direction. I have to give it a unique name. Uncheck here. Okay. We will just leave it like it is here. C size. Okay. So now you'll see that it did not put the 3 views in. So we have to build them ourselves. Right mouse button, general view, click a position for the first view, and we can select from our list here. For instance, let's say we want front. So let's say we want that as the view. You can also change the view's display style at this point. So for instance, I won't put any tangent edges, and I will put hidden line. Apply. Cancel. And I'm going to check up here and see what my default is, and I think I'm going to put this one at hidden line. We will have to change that eventually. So we have our first view. We'll call that the front view, and we want to insert another view. So we're going to select the view, right mouse button. I'm going to uncheck the lock view, right mouse button, projection. I'm going to project a side view over here. So I've got 2 views. Now I can put in a top view if I want, but it doesn't show anything. Everything is on an angle, so it's really not that useful. I can delete that. And instead, what I want to do is I want to go up to the projection view and, auxiliary view, and select the E datum, and then slide my cursor out. You can see it's going normal to the surface, so I'll get a true shape view of the angled surface up here. So now I have 3 good views. I'm going to go into right mouse button and sheet setup because I really need a larger sheet. So I'm going to go to the D size, and while I'm there, I guess I just go to the browse, and I'll pick D size off the standard format. Click OK. So now I have plenty of room to work with, and I unlock the view, so if I want to move this around a little bit, I can do so. Like so. Now, there's some things on here that we want to change. One of them is we notice that we're using the old 1994 standards for our geometric tolerancing datum tags. So that's one thing we want to change. In the book, we also have a variety of options that we want to go through, and those are the drawing properties, and we can start this in the very beginning. We can change these items to a specific setup just for this particular project, and we can save that if we want also. We can save it as a configuration file. And while we're at it, later in the lesson, you have to go and set these datum tags to the new standard anyway. So maybe we'll do it all at the same time. We'll go into Options and Configuration File. We can do alphabetical. How about all options? And click on Find. And let's start off with geometric tolerancing. GET GTOL. I did it wrong. Find. So set value. So these are the options that I have. Let's see if we can find it in a different way. No. I know why I'm doing this. I clicked on options, and what I really wanted to do is this is the options for the whole part. And I'm struggling with that because what I forgot to remember here is that I'm preparing this for the drawing only. I don't care about the file for the model. And the other one was the model options, and we can control those at any time also, the configuration. And you'll see I couldn't find the one I wanted. Well, that's because I don't want the options for the model. I want the options for the drawing. So if we go in here and we go into prepare, we'll see the drawing properties. And we're going to change those options here. And now if we type in GTOL, you'll see GTOL datums as the option. And we want to make this into ASME as the default. Add change. Now I want you to see what happens when this is applied. It goes into our new standard. All right. Now, the other thing that's going to be done here is that we have a situation where we want to make these changes also. So we have text height, default font, arrow style, etc. So if I went in here and I went text help if I had spell it right. And there's no options here because this is a value. And the value we're supposed to make this is 0.25. So we're actually setting up the defaults for the drawing, this drawing only. So add the change. And default, and you go to default here, and this is by category. If we went by alphabet, we would see we have default font as one of the options here. And we want default font filled. It's not giving me that option for some reason. Let's type in filled. Sometimes you have to type it in. Sometimes it comes with a drop down. I don't know what the difference is or why that happens. But now we'll have filled font rather than the thin font. And the other one is arrow style filled. And when we click over here, we'll see we have the option. And I'm sure people are saying why, and I have no idea. Things that people do when they program their CAD system, you can never ask why. It's impossible. It's just frustrating to try to figure it out. The other one says allow 3D dimensions, and that's at the very top of our alphabetical list. And it says no, so we're going to select yes as the option, apply, and close. So those are the default, or I should say the drawing options properties that we are going to set for this particular project, and they get locked into this drawing. And I said that, and then what I should have said was that we can also export these And you can see I have one already, Creo Drawing Detail. And I could add it to it, or I could create a new one. There's a name for it in the book. Use the one that's given to you there to use. That way you can find it later and you can apply these same setups to other drawings and projects that you're going to do. Click OK and then close. So that can be used later. We're going to close this. So when we take a look at the drawing, first of all, let's move some of the datums around. If I go down and I click on my filters, let's see if there's one I really want to use in here. Not much. Let's go to our Annotate tab, and then we'll notice that we've got a longer list here. So if I just click on Datum, then I should be able to move these around. Now it's a little weird what goes on here, and you'll watch that. I tried to drag the back down, and then I have to bring this out again. So these aren't always that easy to select like you think they're going to go, or you want them to go. So for instance, if I move this one in, and this one's hard to grab now because of the way I did it. So I'm going to move these around so that they're out of the way in appropriate places. And in some cases, maybe I want to get rid of it altogether. I can erase. Can't delete because it's a feature of the part. And then some of these I really want to maybe keep in there too. So I can move them into a more convenient spot so that when the dimensions show up, they won't conflict. I'm going to have to do some more editing on these later. Just move them out a little bit. Again, I'll probably have to edit them later. All right. So I'll refit it to the screen. So I've got my datum planes moved around. I'm not saying this is perfect for them, but it's what I can start off with at least. And the next thing is I want to take a look at the views. I'm going to need center lines. I'm going to need dimensions. But I also can change the view itself. So for instance, over here, and even in the top view, if I go and I click on I can hold down my alternate key, by the way, and do this to select it. Or I can go up to my Layout tab, and it will know to select the view. And I'm going to hold down the Control key and pick both of those. Right mouse button, Properties. And the only thing that selects, since I've got multiple views selected, the only thing that's an option here is to show the display itself. So we're going to go into No Hidden and No Tangency. And I'm finishing. You can see it's kind of cleaned up the view. Those hidden lines weren't really helping anything. Now, having said that, in the top view, you notice that you have a hole here in the front, and it's not showing in the right side view, and it's not showing in the top view. And in reality, it's supposed to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Annotate tab, Show, and I'm going to turn on the center lines. Hold down my Control key and select the 3. And you can see the center line over here is not useful, so I'm going to unselect that. So I've got my center lines in there. And there's a reason for this. I want to have apply, cancel. I want to have those center lines shown in the views so I can work with them. So in this case here, I'm going to expand these out, make it look a little bit better. And in the top view, the most important one right now is this one right here. So I'm in the top view. I'm going to go back to the layout, and I'm going to click on Edge Display. I got rid of the hole in an adjacent view. Standards say every feature should show in 2 adjacent views, minimum. So we have a hole that's not showing in the side, not showing in the top. You can't tell whether it's through all, where it starts, or anything else, or ends. So we're going to click on Hidden Line, put our cursor near where the hole is going to be. Hold down your Control key and select the other side. Don't worry about selecting over here. Okay, done. And you can see the hidden line comes back through. So we've got our views, nothing much more to adjust in here. In the front view though, let's double click on it and go into sections, 2D sections, plus, and you can see we created a section when we were in the model, so we can apply it and then shut the dialog. Put your cursor over the top and you can double click onto the section lining and the old menu manager comes up. It's one of the few places it's still there from the Pro Engineer days. And we can change it. We could have done this in the model and selected iron, which is the kind of the standard for sectioning. Right now it's as steel. And we might want to just delete a line, and as far as the angle goes, we can change the angle to anything we want. We want to make it standard. Standard means don't repeat an existing angle on the object, and do not make the sectioning normal to any object line if possible, which is fine, which is what we have here at 45 degrees. Done. And there's our section lining. We do have a section view now, the note. We can take that note and we can move it so it's out of the way. And if we want, we could click on the front view, right mouse button, add arrows, and add the arrows to either the right side or the auxiliary view. And I'm going to put them in the auxiliary view. So basically you can also change these where they are so they're out of the way. And we have our section identification and our cutting plane. So most of the objects has been detailed up to this point. It's got everything done and it's ready for the dimensioning process. So I'm going to click on the Annotate tab, Show Model Annotations, and click on Dimension tab, and then select the view that I think is going to have the most important dimensions in it right away. So I'm going to click on the front view. A lot of stuff comes up. And I might click over here, the top view, and on side view. Now the problem with the side view now is it doesn't have any dimensions in it. And I'm just going to keep everything, and we'll edit them out as we go. So let's take a look at this. First of all, we want to move some dimensions. So I've got to change my filter to general or to dimension. I want to get this dimension and the slot dimension, and maybe even this dimension here, all over to the right side view. So right mouse button, move to view, and move them over there. So now the only one I have here is this dimension, which is for the cutout. So I think I want to move that one also. And then we can leave this dimension here on the top so that we have something here at least. We're going to move some dimensions over there at some point. All right, so let's look at the right side view. First of all, we're going to have to move our dimensions a little bit and maybe flip some arrows. Leave that alone. Probably want to move this around a little bit. It's a little too tight up there. On the bottom, move it out. Move this down. And so we have most of the dimensions we need. We can have a couple of things that we want to do though. We got some dimensions in the front view that should be moved. And let's see, one of them would be, let's move the 25 just out of the way for right now. 5 is okay. We can move the diameter dimension over and right mouse button and flip it. Now let's see, we got the hole, which you should put in the view on the top, and even the dimension to the hole, the location of it. So let's stick those up on the top, move them around a little bit. Flip some arrows like so. All right, so top view is coming along. right side view here, we do want to move these out of the way. And we also have to decide whether or not we even want some of these. You got the D in that going through the top. You got this one. You got D up here. I mean, in reality, if you wanted to, you could actually erase that one so that it's not conflicting with the dimensions, or move it. Now, the other thing we have here is we've got a bunch of dimensions for these ledges here. So we have this dimension. I'm just going to move it out. And we have this dimension. I'm going to move out. And we actually have an odd dimension here, rounded off. It actually should have been 0.125. And let's move this one to this view. And let's move this one to the view also. And then later we'll decide what we want to do with those two. But basically, one's going to the cutout, one's going to the ledge. And we designed it like that so we'd have both dimensions available. Now, one thing we could use is another view, so we could move some of these other dimensions off of here. Let's see what else we can do at this particular point. We could add a reference dimension. Let's say we wanted to know exactly how tall this is. So we could add a dimension for that. So reference dimension. Choices here are a little bit different. We can select this one for the reference. We can pick on the bottom here, hold down the control key, see if we can get it to select on the top edge, the tangency, and this becomes a reference dimension. And later we can see we can actually change this into another standard. Middle mouse button to place. Close it. And while we're there, we could go and look into the properties of that. And display. We have suffix. We could take that off. And we could add parentheses to make it the correct standard. Nobody has used REF since 1994 unless they have a company policy. So click OK, and that's our standard reference dimension. Reference dimension means not to be used. Oh, I got the one from the hole. I didn't get the tangency. I really wanted it to go from the very top. Let's try that again. Stick in another one. Select an entity. How about there? And then how about here? No, it's still giving it to me. I wanted to use reference there. So let's try that again. Reference. Select a tangent arc or circle. And then let's pick the bottom. And then put this over the top. All right. So click on the old one. I'm going to delete it. It's not a feature. It's a reference, so it's not important. You don't need to erase it. You just delete it, the existing one. And again, we could have gone back and changed that one, which we won't bother to right now. So we've got all the dimensions on here that we need. We could use another view, a detailed view. But I think before we do that, let's open up the part. First of all, let's take a look. We got two dimensions here, one going to the ledge, one going to the cutout. So let's open up the part and go into the shading so we can see it a little bit better. And as far as this cut goes, let's make the cut align itself coincident with this ledge so it doesn't have a dimension. So I'm going right mouse button, I'm going to edit the definition of it. I'll go into the right mouse button, edit the internal sketch. Go over here and you can see I have a dimension. So instead of using this dimension, I'm going to come up and I'm going to select a coincident constraint, and I'm going to click on the line, and I'm going to click on the edge. And when I do, it says something's got to go. So we're going to delete the dimension. Now, this is proper design intent. If you want that to be always aligned with the edge at the top, that cut, this is what you do. You do not just delete the dimension in a drawing. The dimension's already gone. Now, while we're over there, we could spend a little bit of time cleaning things up. I don't want to do too much of this in the lecture, but you do have to do some house cleaning. So basically we have everything we need. It would be nice again to have a extra view. So let's go to that. We're going to go back to layout and we're going to click on detailed view, and it's going to be asking select the center point for detail of an existing view. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to click on the edge of the hole somewhere. You can see it puts a point there. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to purposely not do this exactly right. I'm just going to click a bunch of places and I don't have to come back to here. There's a middle mouse button. It'll finish it up for me. So that's detail A. And it's saying down at the bottom here in the information area, select the center point for the drawing view. So I'm going to click over here. So there's my view, the new view on there. But you can see it's a little bit odd, and we'll see what happens. What I'd like to do, first of all, I'm going to shut off the navigation area so we have a bigger view of the drawing. And I'm going to look in the front view. A few dimensions, in particular the ones for the hole, obviously, can be moved over to this other view. I could even move the 25-degree one. I usually don't do that, but let's do it this time. Right mouse button, move to view, click over here. Now you'll see that this is fine. You can clean up the dimensions if you want. You're going to have to actually even clip back the dimension there. Move the 25 outside. Problem is, it's hard to tell what it's going to. And let's flip the dimensions for that. I mean the arrows. And we have our depth, which is fine. And let's move our datum over here. We might not want it, but maybe we do. All right. So this particular case, we can flip the arrows again. Maybe that looks a little bit better. So we've got a variety of things going on over here, but we can't tell where the edge is. What we want to do is go back and fix that. So if we double click on the front view and we go back to sections. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Let's double click over here on this view. And it gives us some options. It says we can re-establish where that first point is, but it's okay. We really want to change the spline. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful when I do this. I'm going to go outside of the part over here. Middle mouse button. Okay. And now you can see the detail view is a little bit better because we got the edges over here shown. Again, I normally don't put the 25-degree on this particular view, but this time I did. All right, now let's go back over to our layout tab, double click on the angle, and we're going to separate this from the parent. Detail independent and hatch, and our spacing we'll make it a little bit smaller because the view is bigger. Done. And our view, if we want to do a couple more things, maybe we want to take it and move the node a little bit so it's out of the way. Now, if you know about the standards, you'll know that certain things can be and should be larger. For instance, let's say the notes here. I'm going to click on all three of them, holding down my control key, right mouse button. And I'm not supposed to get edit value. Thought I was going to get something completely different. Let's try it again. Let's start off with note here, annotation. Try with note, see what happens. Note. Let's do this. So it's selected all three notes, right mouse button. Oh, that's interesting. It's not giving me the choice I want. I think before I do anything, I'm going to select everything. Oh, it says note. Go back to annotation. Select everything. Right mouse button. Text style. And the font we will use is a Blueprint Bold. Apply. Okay. Gives us a little bit more style to it. But again, I'm not sure why I'm not getting this correctly. Right mouse button. And it's kind of interesting because I really wanted to be able to change the size of the letter. And also you can go in and you can change actually certain things like it looks like I did here, came in with the correct angle. Properties here, you'll see it's showing decimal places of 0. If yours shows 118.000, then you want to change that to 0. So again, I know we changed this. Let's see. This is going to change the scale, which I do not want to do. I don't want to change the color. Interesting. I'm not getting the option I want, which is to change the height of that one. Text style. And these are not giving me the option that I want. Nope. I will have to look up the change on that one when I do the next part of the lecture. All right, so pretty much everything is set for the drawing. If we wanted to add another sheet, we could do that. If you're in the Layout tab, see what we have here for options. New sheet is up here in the ribbon, or it's down here at the very lower left-hand corner, plus. Right mouse button. Let's put in a general view. And let's change the scale to, I think I have it to something like 1.5, but I'm going to go to 2 here. And I'll go to the isometric because that looks a little bit better. Now, there's a variety of things we can do on this one also, but one of the things we could do is we could put a section. It doesn't tell you to do this in the book, but if we wanted to put a section, you can see a section's not normal to anything. So we're just going to click on this one anyway and apply, and you'll see that it will put in the section for us. Go over to the general, make sure I have the proper thing. For some reason I have to delete the line so it's proper, and change the angle for this also. Oh, change the spacing. Done. So I can put a sectioned view in there. If I want to put a actual full view in, then I'll put one next to it. So in this case here I have 2 views. Let's click on one of the views, right mouse button, show model annotations. Doesn't show anything I can really display there. Oh, I have a GTOL. I forgot all about my GTOL. Apply. And so it doesn't look like that's going to show up. So let's go back over to the sheet. And one thing that we forgot to do is to go to our annotation. We go to geometric tolerancing, angle, and we want it to have it select the datum. So we're going to pick on the datum. And on the references here, it'll be A. Make sure you pick A. Value, if you want to change it to something, in this case 0.005, I think that's what I asked it to be. And click OK. And there's my geometric tolerance. I'm going to click on one of my dimensions and see what the options are. Annotate. Double click. And this is what I was doing wrong before. I forgot all about it. Looking at my, I didn't double click before. I just clicked, right mouse button. I looked, where is everything? And I forgot all about that. The new Creo 3.0, when you double click on the note, it actually puts you into a new ribbon. So if I wanted to change the height of this particular thing, and again, I'm not going to do it because I want to see whether or not I can get all of these notes. I'm going to put on pick note, highlight everything that's a note, window it in. You can see there's nothing here that I can do. So the question is, if I select all the notes and I double click, will it allow me to have all of these at the same time? And you can see certain things are able to be changed. And let's go to 0.5. I'm going to make this kind of large. Okay, so it did work. And you can see it's a little too large, but .375, that's probably a lot better. Yeah, you want to check out every one of your views. And again, I didn't go back and change the reference here to the proper parentheses around it after I added the new one. I do have a bad dimension here. I didn't see. Bad in the sense it's in the wrong spot. And move to view over to here. Looks a lot better. So there's a lot of little editing you can do to make it a better looking drawing. You want to practice. Detailing is somewhat cumbersome, but it's a requirement in many cases. Now here's a case where the click on annotate, click on the datum plate. I want this to go back a little bit. See, as soon as I do, it moves everything. So I've got to go back up here and move it to where I want it to go. I didn't want it hanging over on that side. Oh, and I forgot in this view here, let's go to the datums, click on the objects. Just the whole. I'm not going to click the whole view. I could, but I'm just going to click the whole. And it puts in the center line. And I can expand it out so it looks a little bit better, like so. So I think this is all we need to cover, except for when we work with the format, which I will do in the next part of this lesson. Let me check very quickly, see if there's something that I didn't cover. And remember to always follow the steps in the book. There's a tremendous amount of things that are in the book that I cannot say in a lecture. And every once in a while there's things in a lecture. Well, most of the time I add a few things every one of the lessons I add some information to. So here's the extra view, which we did. And this is where we'll start in the second part here, which is setting up the new format.